focus for the month of August, being Women's Month, is on the voice of the woman in the workplace. We're joined by Liz Letsoalo. She's an entrepreneur at Masodi Organics, WEF Global Shaper, and activist. Thank you for joining us, Liz. It's such a pleasure to have you here today. I can't wait to hear what your insights are on this very important topic.
Thanks for having me, Khonzi.
Thank you. So let's start right at the beginning. Who is Liz Letsoalo?
Who is Liz? Even I don't know. Well, oftentimes when I'm asked about who I am, I obviously start from home. I'm from a small town called Tzaneen in Limpopo. It's actually a village called Long Valley Village. That's where I'm from. From a very large family, absolutely loving siblings, loving parents. And I grew up, in a large family, hence my love for people. Then grew up to be an engineer, went on to have a career in corporate, did a few things with the Global Shapers and other organizations, started my businesses now, Masodi Organics and Rave. And I think outside of that, I'm just an absolute lover of people, and a lover of truth, a lover of justice and fairness. That's in a nutshell who I believe I am.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit more about Masodi Organics and Rave.
Masodi Organics is my little baby. So it was named after my mother. And it means perfectionist, or it means she who sees flaws. You can choose how you see it. So I literally started the business a year ago. It's actually turning one at the end of August. Thank you so much. So we make beauty products for hair and skin made of natural raw materials, particularly for the Black woman, but it's also suitable for use for other ethnicities. Rave is a business that is really exciting for me, that started as an idea that I had with friends. We piloted it, and as things happen, things don't always work out, so I'm revisiting it on my own. We're going to hopefully very soon launch an app where Black women would be able to request a hair service, a makeup service, a beauty service, and get it done in the comfort of their homes.
Beautiful. That sounds very exciting. Can't wait to see that.
I cannot wait to.
Okay, and WEF? Tell us a little bit more about WEF.
So the Global Shapers is an initiative of WEF. How we operate is through what we call hubs in major cities everywhere in the world. You can go to Nairobi, you can go to Uganda, you can go to China, you will find a Global Shapers hub there. And what we do is really, in a very localized way, focus on tackling the immediate issues to that particular city that we find ourselves in. So they leverage the energy, the zeal of young people like myself, who have some capacity, who have some vision, who have some dreams, and who actually want to effect change in their immediate communities. And they run wild with their ideas. So we literally don't have our ideas dictated for by WEF. We decide what projects we do. Although I think the more you start tuning into what WEF is saying, what governments are saying, what private sector is also saying, you start understanding that the burning platform for issues is quite similar. So even on our own choice, we end up finding some alignment between our projects and WEF anyway, because all of us are feeling global warming, all of us are feeling hunger in one way or another, all of us are feeling crime, all of us are feeling the corruption in governments, in private sector, in NGOs, and in families as well.
Thank you for that, Liz. So let's move on to the harder stuff. Tell us, what is feminism to you, and do you feel that it belongs in the workplace?
My understanding of feminism is the equality of sexes, simply put. What it means to me personally is sort of like something I choose to extend onto that, to say it's the belief that the boy child and the girl child, the adult man and the adult woman are equally worthy of all that is in the world. And I choose that because when the girl child and the boy child are born, both of them deserve to have equal opportunities in the world. But not only that, they also deserve to have equally as good a life experience for them both. And what you don't always see is that sense of joy that the boy child and the girl child derive. Why is the girl child washing dishes while the boy child is playing in the backyard, for example? Does it belong in the workplace? I think for me, I wouldn't want to answer that question. The moment you embrace that men and women are equally worthy, they deserve equal opportunities, and once they find themselves in the workplace, they deserve equal pay for the same type of work. They deserve both to be treated with respect. I don't think you have to ask yourself whether feminism belongs in the workplace.
And when you've got countries like Sweden and Ireland that have got it right, there is It is possible to
We
get
know
it
it's
right.
possible, but also households are getting it right. People in their homes, when the father is not there, and the father, unfortunately, due to the migrant labor system that we have in South Africa, who's running the household? So we know that women are capable, and we trust their capabilities only when it suits us. But when it comes a time where the father is coming back home, the dynamics need to change to fit or to suit egos. We know women are capable, we just don't want to be fair.
And then speaking about leadership in the workplace, what is their responsibility? What do you think that leadership can do to make the female voice more prominent?
You know, the issue of leadership has become a bit contested lately, and I choose to take that step back first before answering the question. Because oftentimes when you say what is leadership doing, especially in organizations, people come back to you and say everyone is a leader in this organization. All of us are therefore responsible for the culture and for the change that we want to see. While that is true, hierarchy is also quite a thing. The fact that you are a CEO and I am an intern means that there are certain decisions you can make that I cannot make. Means that there's certain people that put a bit more weighting on your word than my word. And I think what that means for me is that there is a responsibility for leaders to truly be role modeled within organizations for fair treatment towards everyone. I think that's their responsibility, role modeling.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. And, you know, society, or rather corporate, mirrors society at the end of the day. So let's say I'm a man in a corporate environment. What is my responsibility in ensuring inclusivity and,
I think men in corporate and men in society at large can do two things that I can think about at this point. Firstly, men need to pause and listen. And when I'm angry, I say, shut up and listen. Shut up and listen. Really, because I think sometimes men, I feel, do not listen because they come with preemptive ideas of women's capabilities or incapabilities. And when you already have your own biases, you don't come there with an empty cup or with an open mind and open heart to truly listen to what this person is saying. So you end up projecting what you believe they're saying, or I think I know what you're saying, you interject in all of these things. So I think men need to pause and listen. But secondly, men need to stop believing that they are the voice of women. There's this thing called mansplaining. A woman will say, oh no, I don't think you're hearing me. And then a man, quite ironically, will come in and say, well, I don't think you're hearing her. Right?
We love that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So men can pause and listen, really, but men can also check their own biases. Yeah.
So then Liz, tell us, what are the 3 most important things to you right now as a woman?
3 most important things to me would be, first and foremost, I think politics, really important to me. The second thing is business, it's important to me. And the third thing is living my highest truth. That is very important. So I say politics because I think for the longest time, women have been actually part of politics, but we were sort of like in politics on the sidelines.
Yes.
If you look at the politics of the world, the politics of liberation, the politics of governance, they're very much patriarchal. And I think we, as much as we embrace it, because I'm part of the post 1994 South Africa, because of that kind of politics, you know, Dr. Angela Davis said we shouldn't embrace it uncritically. So we need to say, while it was a good thing, we need to be able to recognize the patriarchy that also took place, to say, why was Madikizela not one of the presidents that were put forward? Why was a Coretta Scott King not given a higher platform that I believe the United States gave other people, other men? So I say politics because the more involvement women are in politics, myself included, we become the voice that also shapes a society that is non-patriarchal, but that is also very inclusive and feministic. The second thing about business, I think, we live in a world that is driven by resources, whether we like it or not. And he who has the resources also gets to decide. You will know this at black funerals. If you can write a check and buy a cow, suddenly you're invited to the meeting rooms with the uncles and the aunts to make decisions. I think that's very reflective of society at large. I mean, corporates, businesses that can actually put money behind certain causes can affect the world, and we've seen that. And I'm particularly passionate about that because you can choose to be a social entrepreneur, you can choose to have a company that is purely profit based and really use that money and really use that muscle and the products that you make and the service that you create to change the world. And the last answer of living my highest truth is that I was actually reflecting yesterday, and I thought, wow, for quite some time I might have been living the dream of my 16-year-old self. And my 16-year-old self was resource constrained. She hadn't gotten enough exposure into the world. She hadn't traveled to different parts of the world yet. She hadn't seen a lot of the things to be able to make a decision that is more informed than today I would be able to. So how am I still doing the same career that my 16-year-old self decided on? So living my highest truth for me means questioning my decisions, questioning myself, questioning my decisions then and now, and being able to embrace the fears that come with those questions, but also having the boldness to say, I am going to pursue my truth, regardless of whether it looks realistic or otherwise.
Sounds like you're self-actualizing. It's just beautiful.
It's hard.
The best work is always the hardest, right? The most important work is always the hardest. The work on self is always the hardest. So Liz, tell us then, how are you using business in order to transform those three areas that you've spoken of so fluently?
Yeah. So I choose to speak about my business, both Masodi and Rave, in three ways. I say it looks at the politics, the physics, and the psychology of beauty. The politics of beauty has been obviously today we're starting to have more of these conversations. Nothing I'm saying is particularly new, but we know that the beauty is very Eurocentric. We for the longest times had to change our features or enhance our features in ways that simulate Eurocentric beauty. Why? Because we believed that Eurocentric beauty was the standard for beauty. The physics of beauty speaks again to the coils and the kinks that black people have, the dark shades of skin that we have today. It wasn't always embraced, and I see that it's starting to be embraced now, which really makes me excited.
Beautiful, yes.
But that is the kind of business that I want to have, to be able to drive those kinds of things. The psychology of beauty speaks to the fact that even if we embrace, the African type of beauty and the Asian type of beauty and the European type of beauty and all types of beauty, there are still those psychological failures.
So you are Steve Bikoing beauty.
Absolutely, I am. That's literally what I'm doing.
Yes.
I am saying all beauty is worthy, but particularly not being shy to say black beauty is worthy. Why black beauty? Because back in the day, we were told black beauty is not worthy. We weren't told about other beauties aren't worthy. So I'm not ashamed to speak for black beauty. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. Okay, so equality is defined as the state of being equal in status, in rights, in opportunities, whereas equity is defined as the state of being impartial and the state of being fair. Yeah. So why do you think that equity is still important when it comes to the agenda of women?
Yeah. So I'm going to start with equality and acknowledge that it's a noble cause, I believe. One that I just think is lacking in, I guess, creativity and foresight. Yeah. The reason I say this is because, you are essentially, by pushing for equality instead of equity, saying the privileged, who has been privileged for many, many years, and the oppressed, who has been oppressed and robbed of, many, many dignity, riches, socially, dignity you speak of, economically, politically, many other ways, has been robbed. By suddenly treating them equally today, the oppressed and the privileged will be, sometime in the future, equal. I don't know, you do the math and tell me.
Doesn't take a rocket scientist,
Doesn't take a rocket scientist. Yes. We just don't want to see the truth. We see the truth, we do not want to see it. Because perhaps it doesn't suit where we stand and our agenda.
So in the age of #MeToo, what should employers be doing in order to protect their employees?
What should employers be doing to protect employees? I can't think about anything proactive, to be honest, and I'm ashamed I can't. But I do think employers, by listening and believing employees when they come forward with stories of prejudice, abuse of any kind, of mistreatment, of harassment, they need to know that there is a platform for me to speak, be heard, and if I'm telling the truth, be believed. And I think when people have that kind of trust in a system or in people within an organization, people will come forward in their numbers. But I think even beyond that, being heard and being believed and being given a platform is not enough. Once I have told the truth and we have shown that this is the truth and we, through the proper channels, what are the consequences of this kind of behavior in an organization? Are there consequences for the guy who's abusing a colleague?
Yes.
Are there consequences for the woman who is maybe saying racial slurs to another colleague? If there isn't consequences, then good luck solving that problem, because people feel safe in these places, and when people feel safe, they will not stop doing the unjust acts in organizations.
Absolutely. It's always difficult because, microaggressions are so difficult to prove. And those are things that, you experience daily. And it's so difficult for you to explain to someone, I feel this way because, it's almost impossible.
It's actually, when you say that, it's something that I've had a conversation with a friend about, and she said something about taking it to the throne. So the throne is actually a toilet seat.
Okay.
I was actually posting stories about how many people actually go and sit in the toilet seat during the day just to catch a break from it all. And so many people were actually saying, yes, yes, yes. And then this one friend of mine came and said, I call the toilet seat the throne, because that's just the place where I get to sit and be the queen that I am without any disturbances. Can you believe it? In today's age, women having to go, and men perhaps, having to go to the throne to run away from those microaggressions. Why? Because what do I say if I go to tell someone? I can't even prove it. But also I'm being petty.
Yes.
I'm being
I think
petty and
that's the
emotional
ultimate.
and not
Yes.
mature and.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I can't
yeah.
crack that one. I haven't cracked it yet. I would love for us to be able to crack it. Yeah.
Okay. And Liz, being an activist is very exhausting. I think you'd agree with that. What are some of your self-care practices?
Self-care for me means three things. The first thing that comes to mind is speaking out. I take care of myself by standing up for myself. And it's not, and the moment you say that, people think you're this bold and brave person who's always saying things. Sometimes I'm scared and my voice is shaky. But if I can just get those words out with my shaky voice and that lump is on the throat, that for me is success, and I've stood up for myself. So that's the first thing I do to take care of myself. The second thing is I recognize my energy levels and patterns. I know there's a time when I need to just shut the world out and be by myself, stay at home, read or eat or just do nothing. That's literally for me a type of self-care. And the last one is probably the more popular one. A spa wouldn't hurt. A weekend away really wouldn't hurt.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time, Liz. It's been an absolute pleasure. I have learned a great deal from Liz, and I hope you have too. This is a topic that is so important, and this is why we've chosen to tackle it as CoolerNathi in this month of Women's Month. It is a topic that is not often spoken about, because as our voices are heard, so will that be followed by action. And that is why we chose this particular topic of the voice of the female. We'll be bringing you more voices to hear from and to learn from. And stay tuned. CoolerNathi next time. I'm Khonzi Hermanus Madumo.